Now we prove every K cell is compact. So we have defined what is a K cell. So we will show that every K cell is compact. You can see that K cell is a subset of the Euclidean matrix space R. Okay, and then you can see that the two results we early proved. The previous two results we are using that. It is for that purpose we discussed that. The previous result means one result is if we have a sequence of intervals in satisfying in contains in plus 1, n is equal to 1 to etc. Then intersection in is not n. And using this result we have shown that if we have a sequence of K cells in satisfying this condition, then the intersection is not empty. Okay, we are going to make use of this result in the theorem every K cell is compact. We have used the theorem for intervals to prove the theorem for K cells here. Okay, so this result we are going to use it. Okay, so we start with a K cell. So the theorem is this: every K cell is compact. So this is a result. Every K cell is compact. Okay. So we start the proof with an arbitrary K cell. So let I be a K cell. And you know, being a K cell, I can be expressed as some A1, B1 cross A2, B2 cross etc. AK, BK. So because there are restrictions on each component, so it's bounded below and bounded above some by some real numbers. Okay. So this is our case I. Okay. Now the proof idea is this. So if we consider the case when K is equal to 2, you have the K cell is some rectangle, okay, A1, B1 and A2, B. Okay, so we have A1, B1, point, first coordinate must be in the range A1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to B1, and the second coordinate y satisfy A2 less than or equal to x, y less than or equal to B2. So this is your case, okay? So this is your case when k is equal to 2. Okay? So we have to prove that K cell is compact. So in general, I is any K cell, we have to prove I is compact. How we prove I is compact? We prove that every open cover has a finite subcover by definition. Okay? So we choose some open cover for I and we prove it must have a finite subcover. So let G alpha, where alpha belongs to some index set I, be an open cover of I. Open cover. So we are considering an open collection of open sets that covers any collection of open sets that covers the K cell I. Okay. So let G alpha be an open cover of I. We want to get a finite subcover of G alpha. Okay. We want to find a finite subcollection of G alpha covering I. Okay. So anyway, directly we may not be able to proceed. So we suppose that it has no finite subcover and arrive at a contradiction. Okay. So if possible, let G alpha have no finite subcollection covering I. Okay. So then we expect a assuming the wrong thing because it's compact, K cell must be compact. So we are assuming we have an open cover having no finite subcover. So we may arrive at some combination. Okay. So we are proceeding like this. So I just explained with the two-dimensional case. You have that K cell. This is V1. What we are going to do is, you just consider the midpoints of each of these intervals A1, B1, A2, B2, etc., AKB. So in this case, we have two intervals A1, B1 and A2, B2. So you just consider their midpoints C1 and C2. Okay? Using these points, along these midpoints, you can divide the intervals into two. You can consider the interval A1, C1 and then C1, B1. Okay? So similarly, here also you have a division like this. So these midpoints determine four subcells. They are again two cells. Okay? Four subcells of the given cell I. This is the case when K is equal to 2. So when K is equal to 3, how many subcells you get? If we divide the in each interval, each components through the midpoint of the interval. In R3, you will get 8 K cells. Okay, you have a box, some box. You have to cut the box into how many pieces you get. If we cut along the medians of each face, we are considering medians of this direction, median in this direction, and we have a face, vertical face. Okay, so you have 8. You will get 8 pieces. Okay, 4 pieces on the bottom and 4 pieces on the top. Okay, so we have in general the midpoints of. So if we consider the midpoint Ci, okay, if Ci is the midpoint of AI Bi, then the K points C1 extra Ck divide the cell K cell I into how many subcells you may get in Rk. Into in one-dimensional case you are getting just 2 subcells. In two-dimensional case you are getting 4 subcells, and in three-dimensional case you are getting 8 subcells. In general, you can see that there are 2 raised to k subcells. Divide the cell into 2 raised to k subcells. Okay. So we find the subcells which are obtained by dividing the cell along the midpoints of the component intervals. Okay. Okay. So our assumption is this: the cell I, this is the cell I, is not covered by any finite collection of G alphas. Okay. Cell I is not covered by any finite subcollection of this G alpha, because this collection has no finite subcover for I. Okay. So if we consider each of these subcells, okay, so I1, if I call it I1, I2, I3 and I4, you can see that if I1 can be covered by a finite number of elements of G alpha, a finite number of subsets G alpha, and if I2 can be covered by a finite number of subsets G alpha, I3 and I4, if each of these is covered by a finite subcollection of G alpha, their union is I, it will be covered by a finite subcollection of G alpha. Okay. So if I1 is covered by some n elements, n1 elements, if I2 is covered by some n2 sets, and I3 by n3 sets, and I4 by n4 set, and this I can be covered by at most n1 plus n2 plus n3 plus n4 subsets in this collection. Okay, so that is not possible because our assumption is this: no finite subcollection is for I. Okay, so there is at least one subcell here which is not covered by any finite subcollection of G alpha. There is at least one subset which is not, there will be, all of them will be like that, or at least one. Because of this assumption we can say at least one subcell is there. Suppose it is I2. Okay, you have the subcell I2 there, then suppose this is your subcell which is not covered by, you can choose any one of the subcells which is not covered by any finite subcollection of G alpha. Okay, so this is I. So call it I. Okay, now I rename this. We have to consider only that one. Okay, we will not name all of the cells. So we just consider the cell, subcell which is not covered by finitely many G alphas. Okay, so call it I1. Okay, so now from I we reduce to I1. Okay, now for when we want to give I0. Okay, so again I1 is a K cell. It is not covered by any finite subcollection of G alpha. So that again you consider the midpoints of the interval, component intervals of I1. Okay, so here we have C1, V1 and C2, V2 by our choice. Generally we cannot say which cell is that. Okay, so anyway, so for this example I write down this. So we just consider the midpoints here and then divide I1 into 2 raised to k subcells as before. Okay, again as I1 is not covered by finitely many G alphas, we can find some subcell of I1 which is not covered by any finite subcollection of G alpha. So this process you can repeat. That means we are considering from I we come to a smaller one, a subcell of that I1, and from that we come to another subcell I2. So we have a sequence of cells. Okay, so we get in this way a sequence of cells I1, I0, I1, and next one of them will be not covered by, at least one of them will be not covered by finitely many G alphas, and then that we can choose. So we have a collection like this I1, then I2, that continues. Okay, right. And we have this property I1 contains, I0 contains I1, I1 contains I2, and so we are getting smaller and smaller. Inside the cell we are finding another cell, and inside it we are finding the next one, and so on. So we have a sequence of cells like this, K cells like this. One more property we can derive for this cells, that is, look at the diameter of this I0. So this is your I0. First cell is, the original cell is I0. So the diameter of this I0 is actually, if we have this point is A1, A2, and this point is B1, B2. Okay, so the diameter of I is equal to the square root of what? That means the maximum distance between 2 points in the set. Okay, what is the difference between A1 minus B1 square plus A2 minus B2 the square. Okay, this is the diameter. You can see that for any 2 points in I0, the x and y, for x and y in I0 we have dxy, that is modulus of x minus y, is less than, if we call it d, this is less than or equal to d, because it's a closed set we may have equal to d also. For some, at least for these 2 points we have, and for these 2 points also you have. Okay, so for any 2 points the distance is less than or equal to this diameter. And when we move to I1, what is the diameter of I1? You can see that the diameter of I1 is reduced to half of the diameter of I. So d of I1 is d by 2. Okay. So for every point xy in I1, what we have is dxy is less than or equal to d by 2. Okay. For the next step I2, again the radius reduces to half of diameter reduces to half of the diameter of I1. And so you have for any 2 points xy in I2, dxy is less than or equal to d by 2 raised to 4. Okay, d by 2 by 2. Okay, d by 2 square. D by 4. Okay, so in that way the diameter is also reducing. Okay, so we have a sequence of cells satisfying this condition. One of the condition is this, and the diameter of any 2 points is satisfying this property dxy less than or equal to 2 raised to n. If we consider nth cell, okay? If we consider nth cell, we have this result. For any 2 points in IN, we have dxy is less than or equal to d by 2 raised to n. And another property that is satisfied by this collection of cells is none of them is covered by a finite subcollection of G alpha. These are the 3 properties we have by our choice of this sequence of cases. Okay.